It's a great pleasure to speak to someone I've spoken to a couple of times now, and his beautiful wife, Gillian. Hello, Michael Jai White. Hello from Sydney.
Hey, hello, Sydney. It's been a while since I've been there.
Yeah, what's going on? Why you need to? I guess you're really busy that you haven't been able to make it back down under.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy, blessed to be so. But yeah, I look forward to coming back there again.
Now, a couple of movies we'll focus on today. I want to talk about As Good as Dead. Very old school, very interesting, and looks like it's a low-key character for you, but he kind of has a few layers. How did you play him? Was it a good role to get?
Well, I mean, I wrote the movie.
Yeah.
So it was a story I had in my head. I wanted to do a story that had something to say about culture, about morality, about personality. These are the things that I deem very important. So it's a story that I had. Incidentally, my brother kind of inspired it for me. My brother moved to Mexico and started a family in Mexico.
Right.
And I've always had a love for the Latino culture and the Mexican people, and they've always been so family oriented, and religion, and just some of the just great qualities, I think.
Yep.
Of people, and hardworking. And so I wanted this story to unfold someplace that I had a dear love for. And my brother, being that he moved there and started a family in Mexico.
Yeah.
My brother was going to be my language coach and my assistant once I shot the movie. But sadly, I lost my brother just about a month before filming. He passed away from COVID. But so in honor of my brother, I use his name in the movie.
Yeah.
And it inspired me to really, try to really bring this character home and do honor to him.
Yeah, I knew about your brother. I'm really sorry. I didn't know whether I could actually bring that up. So you're very strong that you can actually talk about it. You wrote the movie, as you said, and I knew that, but did you write the character for yourself all along?
Yeah, I wrote the character for myself. I mean, of course, I had no idea that would have happened. I had every attention on my brother, because I wanted to speak Spanish as well. My brother was, fluent in Spanish, so I wanted to speak almost half the movie in Spanish. But it's a story about, like, one of the things I want people to walk away with is feeling like they're seeing real people, and I get across the message of people are people, and it depends on where you grow up. Sometimes if you have a lack of resources and opportunity, sometimes that person that grows up to be a gang leader could have been a leader of a Fortune 500 company. It's just like you use your attributes wherever you are. Doesn't mean you're any different, So there's a lot of crooks out there who wear white collars. But I wanted to show that there are people who have, in my life, there's been people who have been, I guess, south of lawful,
right,
that have been some of the most honorable people I've ever met in my life. Even though they're, quote unquote, might be criminals, but it's interesting. So I wanted to have characters who, they're archetypes that you're familiar with, but characteristics that you might not expect.
Definitely. And I'm glad you touched on speaking Spanish, because that is another way that you connected with the teenager that you trained. So that was a good chemistry you had with him. Was that purpose? You wanted to just show that you could help people that needed help, and you did it in a low-key, subtle kind of way.
Well, yeah, I mean, even though my character has reasons why he wants to be anonymous, but when it comes down to it, right is right, and you gotta live with the guy in the mirror. And so my character says, no, I have to help this kid out.
Yeah, I mean, that caravan that well, you call it a trailer, we call it a caravan over here. That was pretty well tricked out. Well done. Was that did you buy a caravan and just set it up yourself, the production design, or was that something already made?
Yeah, well, we just got one that looks like the run of the mill, I guess as you would call caravan, but we have some tricks underneath it. It's skin.
It was great. There's some references. It's not all action, because there's a few comedic lighter moments, and especially a conversation you have in the car about action films. Now that's kind of like self-referential, and you bring up Death Warrant and a few others. Was that, you wrote that obviously, or was that just off the cuff? It seemed like it might have been just said.
No. I mean, well, I take that as a gift and an honor, because I think good dialogue should feel like it's off the cuff.
Felt very natural.
It was definitely written. And one of the things that I don't care where you are, I mean, people from Australia, people from Mexico, whatever, one thing that unites us is that, especially guys, our love for action movies.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that, and no matter where you're from. And so that's something I touched on, where these guys from two seemingly vastly different backgrounds wind up talking about the same thing.
Yeah, it was a really good moment. Also, and I hope people watching and listening to this have seen the movie already, because I'm going to give a spoiler away. You have one scene with Tom Berenger right at the end, and it was good. I was worried you weren't going to share the screen with him. What was Tom like? Did you help cast him, or did he want to play the role? Like, he played a great villain.
He responded to the material, but Tom and I had worked together. Incidentally, we worked together in Mexico years earlier.
Right.
On a movie called Cops and Robbers.
Okay.
And we just finished working together on another movie in England that I literally just got back from days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So so it's always been great working with Tom.
Yeah, I liked him, and I'm glad you had that moment with him, because he played a nasty villain, and it was like the centerpiece of what you were trying to achieve by helping the family, by protecting the family, and then he was calling the shots from prison. Very well written, Michael. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in this movie. You did very well. I loved it.
Thank you. I always want to write stuff that entertains but also has some messaging.
Yeah. When it comes to writing, though, do you have an outline or do you just start with a few characters? How do you actually start writing a screenplay?
Well, for me, I've written for a lot of years, and I've written and sold things independently as a writer by itself, and I've punched up. I've sold even sitcoms before.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've done separately, that I kind of weave into what I'm doing. A lot of movies that you see me on, I do a lot of rewriting from the original script. Probably, I mean, it's come to a point where when I'm offered something, I'm usually offered the opportunity to rewrite it as well, because it's just not to be big-headed about it. It's just that through experience, I'll oftentimes have a lot more experience than the director themselves or the writer themselves in this type of genre. So I've got tricks and experience to kind of bump it all up and avoid pitfalls that somebody with less experience might have. So my thing is the collaboration of it all, and that's a part that I enjoy in filmmaking. And so when I get to direct and produce, and I mean, that to me is like it's a lot of fun. It's not even, doesn't even feel like a burden. This feels like fun.
So the more hats you wear, the better it is.
Yeah, actually, when I'm directing, I have an easier time because I'm not worried about other things. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting in my trailer going, wait a minute, do they realize the sun's setting at a certain point and we better shoot at this angle? Because my mind is always thinking from several points of view.
Yeah.
And so as a director, it's comfortable because I'm always kind of moving, and that's fun. That's fun to me.
Do you, when you're directing yourself, do you make sure you just keep on doing takes and get it right, or do you just take that first or second shot?
I tend to know.
Yeah.
I don't really watch myself.
Right.
I tend to know because there's a certain point, because I've been with me for a long time. So, so I feel like I know what my instrument is. And so if I say a line and I felt it, I know it's coming across visually. So I need not watch it. And I just keep moving. My focus is on some of the other characters because I've got an unfair advantage. I wrote the thing. I know exactly what this character is supposed to be doing and how he's going to say it and all the little nuances. So so it's easy for me. And then when I am capturing another character, I'll remember every nuance that they've had in their take.
Yep.
So I can work with that because I remember and I know how to kind of cut back and forth on that.
It makes editing easy then, obviously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I always have. I have the whole thing edited. Even the way I write is basically I write because
it's already edited when you write.
Yeah, I tend to see the entire movie.
Right.
Like when I'm writing it. And so it makes it really easy to know the components that I need to capture. So it's it's like I said, it's fun.
Yeah.
And I don't have the stress that others might have who may not know what they need. I tend to know exactly what I need and I shoot that and keep moving.
When you say you've been you for a while, you're you, is it ever going to come to an end, do you think? Your action, ability? I know Dave Bautista recently said he wants to stick to drama because, his body can't take it anymore. He'd rather do that than, be fit and have an obligation for an action movie. What about you? Do you think you can just keep it going, or is there going to be a time limit?
I don't want to sound arrogant, but I can. I can. I'm still faster than a lot of people the quarter of my age. So I still feel great. There's nothing physically that knock wood. I can do this for quite some time.
Good.
But I can understand, with Dave. Dave's done a different thing. He's slamming. He's done stuff that stunt people do. He's literally slamming himself and slamming. So that takes a toll like a football player crashing into people. See, what I'm doing is a lot more. It's a lot more forgiving.
Sure.
Than what Dave Bautista and those guys are doing.
Well, he proved that you can still run. There's a machete chase in this movie that's quite well done, and it looked like they were real machetes, real props. Or
well, I'm happy about that because I had a sprained ankle.
Oh wow! You can't tell.
I had a sprained ankle during that run stuff, and I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to run, but I just said, let's see what happens. And I ended up running. It wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah, well, you managed to bluff it because you can't tell you've got a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
Dead Zone, another movie that's just about to be released in Australia, totally opposite. And I actually thought when I was watching it would have made a good Predator movie because it's kind of a creature feature.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, that was one of the most fun times I've had in a long time on a set.
Really?
Man, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. The director, Mr. Braxton. That was a movie that I could just chill and be the actor in it because they really. I saw other movies that he had done.
Right.
And it's I thought it was really well done. Where he's always been limited on budget, and I knew this going in. He was limited on budget, but he made sure that nothing was missing.
Sure.
So I kind of like that. And he's got Hank. Hank had such a great team behind him. He had film students, people he's taught directly. So it was like a real family type of atmosphere, and it was a joy to work on that thing.
Yeah, well, that's great praise for Hank Braxton. I mean, did he give you a call and say, "Hey, Michael, we need you," or do you still have to audition, by the way, for movies that you don't write?
No, not usually. No. Well, Hank is a kind of guy. He kind of sits in the background. He had his producers do all the speaking,
right?
But like, he's just very humble, but very talented, very funny too.
Okay.
I can there's going to be a time where I want to unite with him to do an action comedy. Yeah. I think that's going to be his niche, because he's a very funny person and a very good filmmaker. So, with the right budget and everything, yeah, that guy's going to he's going to make a big mark on the action comedy realm.
That's high praise. So you'll obviously work with him again.
Mark my words. When Hank Braxton gets an action comedy that's worth the budget and everything, yeah, it's going to be something else.
Well, it's a movie where you're in a team and it involves teamwork to survive. Is that like real life when it comes to making movies? You've got to have a good team on board. Have you been on movies before where the team aren't gelling?
Yeah, that's happened. And usually when it doesn't gel, it's usually the fault of the people in the head.
Right.
The people who are running it. It's like the fish stinks from the head down.
Yep.
I've seen that to be even if there's some kind of fastidious quality of the director or producer, that quality just permeates the entire set, right? Yep. So Hank is a very funny, very easygoing guy, and the entire set was that way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's usually the case. I don't think I've ever seen it where it wasn't the case. That's
good. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And Jeff Fahey was on board in that movie as well. And another legend, a little bit like Tom Berenger. Tell me about Jeff. What's he like to work with?
Wonderful.
He's been around a while.
Wonderful. One of my favorite people I've met in the last, in this career.
Yep.
In this career, he's one of my favorite people. He is just fascinating, a human being, amazing actor, just so giving of himself, just amazing. Another really funny guy. Yeah, he's a joy to work with. Yeah, it's like if Jeff, that's a plus. If Jeff Fahey's involved in it, I want to be involved.
That's good to hear, because he doesn't come across funny. He's always gruff, or he's short, very short in a lot of his roles. So in real life, he's a funny man. That's good to hear.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's amazing that, I guess I didn't know that at the time until we worked together the first time.
Yeah.
But just a joy. I really feel, Shane, like there is no excuse for everybody not to have the time of their lives on a movie set. It's like we've all run away and joined the circus. This is such an amazing blessing that it breaks my heart to hear about sets that running with turmoil and anguish, and there just doesn't seem to be any logical reason for that to me.
Even if it's
I don't get it.
Even if it's a low budget or whatever, you make the most of it.
I don't care. Yeah. We are blessed to do what we really love to do.
Yeah.
And in the end, we're going to win. We're going to have a movie that's going to win. And so, when you go about this business with stress, it just kind of I don't know, it implodes, it eats upon itself, and it creates a bad environment for the people working together. And you don't get your best work out of stressed people.
No.
You get your best work out of people who are happy to come to work and know that they're blessed. So, personally, it was the movie I'm involved with, since I'm one of the people up front. And, and I tend to be, like when I'm a director or whatever, people get scared of the director, and they get scared of the actor, especially if you've seen the actor kick people in the face. Right. Tends to make people already, but it's like when you take the time to get to know them and respect them, what they do, that tension, they let up and they're so happy that they're in a free work environment and that you're not using your position to make them feel lesser, that you get such a good result out of it. So, I'm always the type that it's like, hey, I'm just Mike. I don't care if you're the caterer's assistant and you come to me with
that's great,
with your idea for the scene. I love it. It's fine. It's like, again, I look at it as we're these misfits, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I wasn't supposed to be here. You know what I mean? What was the possibility of that? You know what I mean? So I'm celebrating that. And I know everybody's got a story like that. And, and the odds were stacked against us. But guess what? We all got to that set and we won. So I want to make sure that everybody's experience is something that they're going to be proud of.
That's really good to hear, and you respect everyone, and I have no doubt that you do, because having spoken to you a few times now and your lovely wife, I can see it just is amazing how open you are. And I remember asking you the first time we spoke about your heritage, and have you ever had any hurdles being African American or a person of color? I know things have changed and progressing. How about lately? Do you think things are still progressing how they should be, or are you having any more difficulties over time?
Well, things have changed drastically for me because I didn't let the things stop me. Yeah, I've heard some horrendous things.
Yeah.
In this industry about, Black movies don't do it well overseas, and one famously a very powerful person said, man, with your attributes and your acting ability and action ability, you could be big as Tom Cruise. Too bad you're Black.
That's incredible.
He actually said that, and I'm going, wow. But to me, I look at, okay, he's exposing to me how certain people think.
Sure.
And now, am I going to use that and get mad and say that, I'm going to use that for,
motivation or anything?
Yeah. No, that's kind of like, wow. Wow, how it's gotten to the point where he could say that and it's acceptable.
Yeah.
And he doesn't find any problem with it. Well, that's an obstacle that I have to work around. And here I am in a situation where a lot of times I'm brought onto a project because I make it global.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So thank goodness for that, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes me even happier now that there was a prevailing thought that because I was Black, that I mean nothing in a global community.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wow, okay, obstacle, you work around it, So there's a lot of that depends on your attitude toward it. And I don't have a victim attitude.
No.
But I looked at it as something that informed me that there are people in power who think this way, Mike. Yeah. And it's going to take a while to change that. And the way you change it is by doing your best work and keep moving. And then eventually, those things change. And even when I there was a movie I did called Send It. And my character was somebody who adopted this young kid, who basically, and I trained this child to become a champion kite boarder. And the director and producer came to me with this offer, and they said, well, the kid's father dies as a warrior, is a Navy SEAL who dies, and his best friend leaves the service and goes to be a father to orphan. Yeah. So, and it's like, and they said, Michael, we were trying to figure out somebody who could be believable as a Navy SEAL, but have the nurturing qualities as a dad.
That's you.
And we thought we were going to cast a white guy. So we just thought about the attributes and we came up with you without race, without any kind of thought of race. And so when that happened, I actually put out a post about it, saying it's the first time I've ever heard of a Black man raising a white kid. And you could only hear crickets in response to that, because people are so used to, in this social media age, they're so used to the complaints and the trauma and all that type of stuff but I said, well, wait a minute, this is something that celebrates what Martin Luther King was talking about. Can we give this some credit? This is pre-George Floyd and all that these people said, based on the content of your character, we chose to cast you. Colorblind. But when you're posting about something positive, there's not much, people don't really chime in, which is a little sad. But it's like, I put it out there and, so, to me, those don't slip by me.
No. I
do see the positive. Unfortunately, a lot of other people don't, but it is a positive time. It's gotten better, and hopefully it will continue to go that direction.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I mean, you're leading the way in many terms, because like you just said with that movie, and you're doing something about it. You're writing your own films, writing strong characters, and I think that's got a lot to do with it when people see that.
Yeah, character, it supersedes anything of race and any kind of stereotypes or whatever.
Yeah.
Character, and I've never looked at it myself from only one, peer group. Yeah. I've looked at it myself as a global person, a human being, a man first, not just a Black guy. And I don't carry myself that way. I'm a free person, so my family has, we've received the attributes behind that. And so somebody could take a page out of my book and not limit themselves based on their color.
Yeah.
If they like, so it works well for me.
Do you and Gillian, around the house start punching up each other and pushing each other around and having a bit of fun to keep fit?
No, we don't do much of. We work out together. We do a lot of that, but no, we don't really.
No boxing.
Yeah, well, every now and then maybe.
That's good.
Yeah, every now and then. But it's like people kind of throw cheap shots at me every now and then, the kids and stuff.
That's fun, though, right? That keeps it real.
Yeah.
We're at the time of us talking right now, we're in the middle of awards season. Do you think, and with the Academy Awards and so forth, there should be a stunt category or an action category? I know we have technical categories, but what's your opinion on that? Should there be an award singled out for action movies or action stunts?
You know what? I feel ill-equipped to really comment on it till I put some more thinking into it.
Sure.
Because I worry about it being like, if you've got $100 million movie and you've got these massive, you've got CG, you've got all that type of stuff.
Sure.
It's hard to categorize it, because I'd almost think like, under 5 million stunts, a budget of under 5 million or above, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, there's these two different worlds. And how does the movie that costs $2 million compete with the stunts?
I get it.
And then the delineations, like fight scene. Like I look at stuff that Iko Uwais has done, like with The Raid.
Yeah.
To me, that stands apart. What they were able to do, it's like, to me, they deserve a stunt fighting award.
Yeah.
But now,
definitely,
how do they compete with the Matrix? It's different.
It's an unlimited budget. I get it.
Yeah.
Tough. I also do a podcast about the great actor Mickey Rourke, and I know you've worked with him a few times, and I guess he's a friend. Tell me a little bit about what it's like working with Mickey and how you met him, and I guess, you know, I know he's got a love of animals, and tell me a little bit about him working with him, please.
Well, I mean, I worked with him a couple times.
Yeah.
And I really never said this out loud, but I knew Mickey from way back when, before he even remembered.
What?
One of my best friends is a guy named Frankie Lyles. And Frankie Lyles was a good friend of Mickey's when Mickey was doing the boxing thing.
Yeah.
And so I remember when Mickey was doing the boxing thing and he was kind of staying in the gym and sleeping in the gym sometimes, a outlaw gym. It was the precursor to Freddie Roach's Wild Card.
Right.
Yeah, so even back then, I mean, Mickey doesn't remember this because I never bring it up to him because I don't want to kind of reflect on that I think he was having a hard time, but I had bought a car off of Mickey. I bought his El Camino off of him.
He loves cars too.
yeah. I bought his El Camino. It had nitrous tanks and everything off of him. But I think if you bring it up to him, he knows Frankie's friend bought it off of him.
Right.
But I don't think he realizes that was me. So I go back with him in those gym days.
Yeah.
But I wasn't Michael Jai White's Tim.
Right.
So I know him from way back then, but I never really reflected on that when we've been working together. Because I didn't want to, I just want him to not worry, not think about this, yeah. So I just let him look at me as the actor and that's it. So I've known him for quite some time. And to me, he's like some of the last vestiges of old Hollywood. Right. I don't want to sound derogatory in that. That's a great thing. Mm-hmm. Because back in the day, I mean, there are people who they oozed so much charisma that you couldn't take your eyes off of them. That's what made those people in old Hollywood. They were particularly unusually just really they were steeped in character, and Mickey represents that. That's that movie star appeal.
Yeah.
That we don't really see much every day. I mean, nowadays, I think we have, I think the business is filled with celebrities, but not movie stars, not people who have that quality that, you're following them everywhere.
But he looks like he can hold his own in the action scenes too. So he hasn't lost that against you as well.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap it up, and speaking of cars, buying a car off Mickey, there's a great car in As Good as Dead. I mean, that's a wicked car as well. Did someone own that, or did you hire it out for the film?
Yeah, someone owned it, and and they would bring it to the set, and I would use it. And there was a few times I scraped those gears a few times, but they were really cool. They were really cool about it. And I'm like, oh, every guy knows when you're like. I mean, It was a little tricky sometimes with that gearbox, and it sometimes will grind.
I couldn't imagine you grinding gears.
He's like, cool, it's all right.
I couldn't imagine you grinding gears. I thought you'd be just a smooth operator.
No, every car is, got its own little touch to it,
Sure, yeah.
So that thankfully that only happened like twice, and it wasn't too bad. But there's times, but it's tricky. Because I'll have dialogue and have to start the car and move it.
Right.
Kind of, quick. So you can't have the car on during the dialogue and then drive off. You know what I mean? You got to finish the dialogue, start the car up and smoothly drive off within 2 seconds. So sometimes that gets tricky to find that because you don't want to, say something real cool, and you say, now we'll go get him. Look down. And that doesn't look cool.
No,
you gotta say it, not look down and drive off, right?
Of course. The timing has to be right.
Yeah, so it's like, now we'll go get him. And so that's what happened one of those times before I could get it smooth. So I realized I got to put it in gear and just kind of, make it smooth.
You crack me up. You're full of stories. I love it. And before we go, I have to ask, and you probably get asked about this all the time. I'll go roll the clock back to Spawn. There's yet to be.
I knew Spawn was coming.
Only because of all the superhero movies that are getting made, like they're one genre that just keeps on making money. There's yet to be a return of Spawn. Do you think it'll actually happen? And I know you probably, a day doesn't go by that you don't get asked about it.
Well, I get asked about it a lot, but I was like, I always say, hey, I'm just an actor in that. Not my responsibility. They've been talking about that for 25 years now.
I know, right?
And I sit there and I go, okay, all power to them. What's his name?
Dark Horse.
What's that?
Is it Dark Horse Comics?
No. It's Image Comics, but it's Todd McFarlane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, years ago, he was talking about, I think the 20th year anniversary, he was talking about his concept for the next Spawn, which was kind of like, he said something like Jaws, where you don't see Spawn and he just kind of shows up like in a cloud and people are messed up. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that. I don't quite get it, and I know he's been saying that he's going to do it for a lot of years. But and usually it's the fan base that are talking about it. But as a movie maker, I just go, wow, that would be incredible. Todd's not a director.
No.
Like famously, Stan Lee created all, but he's not a director. He's never directed it. And that's not his wheelhouse. So somebody is talking, I guess somebody is giving Todd McFarlane, someone who's not directed before, a lot of money to do a Spawn 2. I don't know who that is. I mean, I've heard it was Blumhouse or whatever. And it was Jamie Foxx connected to it. But I've heard this for years, but I don't know. Like it's well beyond me. I mean, that would be pretty amazing. That would be a first, put it that way.
Right.
That somebody would be handing that kind of money to a first-time director.
Yeah, well, I couldn't, and I couldn't finish the conversation on Spawn. So what I will ask you now is, what have we got to look forward to? Are you got any movies in the pipeline that you're writing? I know you're shooting movies all the time. You release like 3-4 a year sometimes. What can you tell us about any exclusive?
Well, I got about 6 movies in the queue right now.
Yep.
One of them is going to be total theatrical. It's my follow-up to Black Dynamite. It's called Outlaw Johnny Black.
Yes.
I'm very, very, very proud of this movie. I feel like this is the best movie I've ever done, honestly. On several levels. It's comedic. It's fun. The whole family can see it, and it has something to say. I've got some other action movies. My wife and I think I shared the poster.
Yes.
For you, the Island, where Gillian and I are kicking butt again.
That's good.
On that one, and I've got, of course, Dead Zone. I mean, no, not Dead Zone. I did Dead Zone. Come Out Fighting, which is a World War II movie that I've got with Dolph Lundgren. And there's like 3 more. I've got there's some cool stuff coming out. So
is there anyone you haven't worked with that you want to work with?
Oh, there's too many people that I haven't
worked with.
Too many
to name, yeah, of course.
Yeah, too many to name there.
I know. When we spoke about Triple Threat originally, our first conversation, you were telling me about the outlaw Johnny Black then. So it's been in the pipeline for such a long time. I'm really glad that it's finally out there for people to see soon.
Yes, and it's with Samuel Goldwyn Company. We're going out theatrically, not day and date, theatrically. It has its own theatrical window.
Yeah.
Just like, traditional, like the traditional movie going, where you can go to see this with your family in theaters. And actually, I think people are going to get a lot out of it. Dare I say, it is a faith-based action, Western, blaxploitation, comedy, romantic drama.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got all of that, and it's equal parts of all. And there's going to be a lot of cameos that there's a lot of fun cameos in the movie too.
Faith-based is interesting, Michael, because that's its own genre basically, and they do very well. So if you're combining that into your action and comedy and romance and everything else, I think you've got a hit.
Honestly, some of the faith-based producers who had seen the movie said it's been the most compelling faith-based movie that they've seen. And I was surprised to hear that. And they said, yeah, it is, because this is what we want to see, the things that align with what we believe, and doesn't feel like it's preaching.
Yeah.
Because it's so because of the fun of the movie.
Yeah.
And so and that's kind of where I stand, because with my company Gigantic, it is a good kind of like that, and with As Good as Dead, it establishes what I'm going for, where there's a morality to it. There's something that back in the in the movie making of the 80s, that there's substance and morality to the storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's what I grew up on, and that's what I want to give this generation. Something that, you could be entertained, but it can give you some life lessons along the way too.
But just talking to you is like a life lesson, because, I've had the smile on my face the whole time. I feel like I know you, because you're willing to talk about pretty much everything. As Good as Dead and Dead Zone are about to be released in Australia, or are released in Australia. Any final words? Why should people watch those two movies in particular, and just check them out? Because there's so many movies to choose from, when you're looking at streaming sites and so forth. Why should they pick these two?
Well, if anybody knows a little bit about me, I don't do movies just for the sake of it. It's got to mean something. It's got to have a quality. This honestly is not about a paycheck to me at all. I've gotten the opportunity to do what's in my heart, what I really love to do. And I don't care, I've walked away from very big paying movies that didn't align with my principles.
Is that right?
And so, there's something I stand for. And so I hope the people that kind of stand for the same things can trust the fact that I'm not going to do something that's not aligned with that, that's just about the paycheck and doesn't have any kind of nutritional value to go along with it.
No, that's good to hear. I wouldn't have thought you would stand against your principles, and the fact that you've said no to certain big movies means that you haven't changed. Your values are very high.
No, I continue to be the happiest person I know, because I feel like I can look at myself in the mirror. There's nothing so that's worked for me, and to me that's priceless. It's beyond what any kind of dollar figure anybody can give me.
Well, Michael, great talking to you. Maybe you can come down under and, introduce Johnny Black if it gets a theatrical run in Australia.
I would love to do that. And I think it will too.
I'm put my hand up to do a Q&A if you want.
All right. All right. Thank you.